Hello everyone, and welcome back to the third installment of new MSM composer features that we need in the app. Over the past few months, I've been brainstorming ideas of what could make the composer app better, and today I have a solid list of 10 to share with you all. Right off the bat, I will say that a lot of these are smaller tweaks and more or less a behind the scenes change, as I already covered plenty of the big stuff previously. And since this video is coming out after the release of the 2.0 update, a lot of these will be adjacent to those additions. With that being said, let's hop into the first idea. To start off, I want to suggest a simple fix that's been bugging me for a while. I've always disliked that we can only create 5 save files at one time, because that is such a small number, especially for something such as track saves. Additionally, this number would be 6, but we are not allowed to delete the tutorial save file, which is even more annoying. Ideally, I'd say that we should be able to delete the tutorial save file and have a max of at least 9 save files, if not more. We're allowed to have an infinite number of songs, but we're limited to 5 saves, so I think increasing the amount of saves to a bigger amount, if not infinite, would be a good change. This next idea is definitely out there, as it would be more difficult to code and actually implement into the app. My idea is to have the ability to save a track from one percussionist and then load it onto a different percussionist, with it keeping the same sounds. That was probably confusing, so let me break it down some more. So let's say that I have a T-Rox and I want the same kick drum part to be played by Shellbeat. T-Rox's kick is on the low F, which when loaded into Shellbeat is its low snare. That being said, if we were to have something in place that were to allow us to save and load that T-Rox kick track onto Shellbeat so that it was also playing the kick, that would be a small but helpful update. Again, this gets complicated because it would require some special coding to do this, as it would have to identify all of what I'm calling the drum kit percussionists, which is only a handful. I would consider those to be common and rare T-Rox, common and rare Shellbeat, Deej, and Rebro, being only 6 out of the 24 percussionists currently in the game. Another easier option would be to just make these 6 align their 3 or 4 different sounds in order to keep saving and loading tracks the same, but either one works equally as well in my opinion. This next idea is a similar concept, but more universal. Something that would help out immensely is the ability to save a selected amount of measures and then load it into a different section, whether that's on a different or even the same monster. The same idea can be done with copying and pasting to a certain extent, but that is a single measure at a time. A lot of the time, I find that the phrases that I want to repeat or layer are multiple measures, but not the entire song, so this makes layering a bit more difficult than necessary. I think it would also be nice to have a loading feature that would only clear the measures that contain the notes that are being input, but that's mostly just a side thought. Similarly to the previous idea, I think it would be such a big help to be able to highlight a measure and then move it a certain amount of beats. Let's say I have a few notes that I want to move to the right. I change the time signature so it highlights only them, and then I select those notes and select to move them the desired amount. The only concern would be if you had notes on either side of the selected area that may be overridden, but that could just be the typical warning message for when you clear a track. I feel like this is such a small feature that can be fairly easy to implement, and it could be such a huge help in the long run. This next point is one that I'm surprised to not have brought up previously, but it would be so nice to be able to put the same note over a held note. If this doesn't make sense, then scriptwriter me apologizes because I currently don't know a better way to phrase it. Anyways, all that I'm trying to say is that it would be nice to be able to put, per se, another middle C atop a previously held middle C without any funky stuff happening. You can technically already do this by using a note such as B sharp or a C natural, but if you have a note like G that doesn't have that type of loophole, it makes it difficult. All in all, not having to create your own tricks for these minor details would be a nice little update. These next 2 points I'll combine into one as they share a similar idea, but I would really love to see both the note range and song length expanded upon. Although 128 measures in 4/4 is a solid amount, if you are working with fast rhythms such as 16th notes that require you to double or even quadruple the tempo, those 128 measures go by pretty quickly. I don't know how many measures they would expand it to, but maybe like 256 or something in that ballpark. Side note, but I'd also love to see the time signature go up to 16/2 rather than just 12/2. That would make composing in 4/4 so much easier, so perhaps we could see this minor change as well. As for the note range, we barely have 2 octaves spanning from B3 to B5 or A flat 3 to C6 with accidentals. I would honestly love to see 3 octaves if possible, as that would make certain key signatures way less awkward to compose in. I have found myself often struggling with the note limitations, so to have 1 more octave could honestly fix it. Next, this is more or less just a simple technical update, but I'd really like to see the monster handlers combine the previously separated monster duplicates now that we got the 2.0 update. Since we now are able to have held and short notes played by the same monster, our old songs still kept the 2 separated, which is a bit of an annoyance. I wish I could simply request that this merge would occur, but I know it's likely easier said than done. This merge likely won't make it perfect, but it definitely will make it easier to rework those older songs if you choose to do so. This next idea would be a very easy one to implement in my opinion, that being a numerical volume changer. All this would really entail is the ability to choose a volume between 0 and 100, allowing for a more precise volume rather than eyeballing it. I feel like a lot of the time when I try to be precise with the volume, it can be difficult, so being able to set it to, let's say, 60% volume, I'm now able to be more accurate. I'd still suggest that we keep what we have currently in the game, but add this numerical option as well. This is another very tiny change that would make it much easier to stay consistent and accurate with songs. And for the final idea, this is by far the easiest and most simple. Something that I wish the composer app had was the view mode that we have in MSM. Although we only have the recording and compose buttons, I still appreciate being able to hide those when I record a song. If nothing else, I feel like this is something we can expect to get in a future update, as it is such a simple feature that adds a bit of depth to the game. And with that being said, this concludes another rendition of my ideas for the Composer app. This video didn't have a lot of big suggestions, but mostly just smaller technical additions that would assist heavily in the composing process. I'm hoping that we get at least something this year for the app, but it's just about unpredictable when that may occur. As always, let me know your opinions on my suggestions, and feel free to share ideas of your own. Thanks for watching, and I will see you all later.